Coming up next on Not the 9 to 5 podcast.
And you are there to keep the production on track. You know, I walked in and I was I was completely overdressed for a start. And at that time, Tomorrow's World and Watchdog used to get nearly 10 million viewers a week. When you think of it now. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, because there's so many scandals going on and in the hierarchy and the establishment. He was 7 years old when we first met him, and he knew that he was gay. At the time I was doing both jobs. I don't know how I did it, really. You're literally as good as your last job.
Welcome to Not the 9 to 5,
the podcast for freelancers
by freelancers.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out,
join us as we share insights, tips and stories
to help you thrive in the world of independent work.
I'm Kat.
And I'm Francesca.
We are two freelancers exploring the highs, lows
and everything in between. So grab your coffee, kick back
and let's dive into another episode of Not the 9 to 5.
Katheryn Siggers.
Francesca Marago.
How are you?
Hello, how are we today?
We are very well on this wet, drizzly summer's day.
I know, it's been horrible, hasn't it?
No, it's so bad. It's so bad. But we've got Hazel today with us, who's bringing some light to the screen.
That's it. She's bringing the sunshine.
Exactly. So Hazel Graham, she has over 15 years of television experience and has been working as a line producer for documentaries. She started her career by seeing an advert for the BBC in a job magazine and handed out at the tube station. The BBC trained her up. She started in production and then managed to make the move into editorial. Her most recent gig was at ITN on the Michael Palin in Nigeria series. Hazel says it was a tough production right from the beginning, sending a national treasure into a high-risk location, including filming in Boko Haram territory. Hopefully I said that correctly. But has been an immense success with record-breaking viewing figures. So welcome, Hazel.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh my goodness. Right, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Tell us from the beginning. So when you started at the BBC, talk us through it. What did you have to do? How did they train you?
Well, first of all, as I say, I saw this advert and I just, I thought, oh, well, I'll just send off my application. And I wasn't too sure what I was going to do, really. I was half in mind, oh, am I going to go home again or what am I going to do? So, yeah, I pitched up and I'd been working in this kind of very glamorous industry of high-end auction houses where, it was just a very different, in South Kensington, and it was just very opulent. And then I pitch up at White City Tube outside Television Centre, and it's a grey old day, and it's just pretty not great. And I thought, God, what am I doing? And I pitched up on all this kind of very kind of, because you had to dress well in the auction house. And, I walked in and I was in... I was completely overdressed for a start. And I met the HR people and two other panel. It was a whole panel of people that I was faced with. Oh my goodness. And I got through the interview and I started on this a reserve, which is like a production, you would call it like a production manager's assistant now, where they train you up. They just pitch you in all kinds of departments and they decide where they're going to put you. And, you have a chance to see, do I like science? Do I like history? Do I like investigative? It was just, and I did the rounds really at the BBC and I worked with some pretty amazing, people when I think of it. And then I saw the production panel being advertised, and that was for production assistants, which is probably a bit like, production coordinators, PMs now today. And I got through on that, and that was another scary BBC panel. And I worked on things like, fast turnaround, Watchdog, Tomorrow's World, that's going back, but it's a part of everybody's heritage. People sat down and watched these programs, and at that time, Tomorrow's World and Watchdog used to get nearly 10 million viewers a week. When you think of it now,
Whoa,
they were very high viewing figures. Yeah, and and then I worked in docs for a while, high achieving productions. I also worked with Esther Ranson on Child Watch, which set up the charity Childline. So I could kind of see where I was going. I was going more into the kind of serious programming, quite investigative. Yeah, and the rest was history. And then when I did that training at the BBC, they sent me 6 weeks out to BBC Elstree, where they just threw you into all kinds of situations, live studios, on location, drama, comedy, yeah. And then, of course, the training, the actual classroom kind of lecture room training that you got for 6 weeks. I'm not sure if they even run that course anymore. And that was the start of it, really. Yeah, and I worked on quite a few programs, and then I decided to try and get into editorial, and that was a tough bridge to cross. It's quite a difficult one. Yeah.
So what's the difference then between sort of the documentary work that you do and the editorial for the listeners out there?
Well, in production, you are supporting your editorial team, your producer and your director, your executive producer, and you are there to keep the production on track. You budget, you forecast, you schedule, you hire staff, you contract staff, you look after all the legal, you look after the contracts. So it's very much the support, but very, very important backbone of the production. While in editorial, you're looking at, well, what's going to go on screen, select good contributors, duty of care to contributors, finding really good stories, writing scripts, sitting in the edit, putting it together, getting it over the line with the channel. All those relationships that you have to keep with a reporter or a presenter, while keeping the team afloat and keeping to deadlines and working with an exec. So it's quite different. Editorial is creative, while production is very much the backbone, the solid, person behind it. If the production team is not good, it falls apart. You have not got a production. It doesn't work. You don't keep on schedules. So yeah.
What made you want to make that shift from production to editorial? What was the pull for you?
I felt I could do it. And for a long time at the BBC, I was doing two jobs. I was sent to work in children's, and I thought, this is a good opportunity. This is a good start for me to be able to just jump out and do other things. So I was able to do the production work as well as set up, and I set up a lot of their filming across the world. I mean, South America, Central America, the US, Europe, the Caribbean. I did so much filming there, and I thought, oh, I really like this as well. I like this setting up, as well as getting the stories together, speaking to people, on the phone, I suppose, creating a story that's going to, be of interest. I think it was what what really liked doing. I really got a buzz from it, and I seem to be quite good at it as well. But like I say, it was quite a tough one to get recognized. Once you start a production and they see that you're good at it, it's really hard to jump out. And you're seen as his production person. While if you have this editorial edge, you just have to find a department or place that they will allow you progress and, follow that dream. And I ended up working on quite a few productions, which allowed me just to assist and produce, which was fantastic. And when I left the BBC, I set up a company with 3 other BBC producers who were leaving at the same time. And that was a great springboard, because although I was their head of production, I was also able to do lots of producing. And there I worked on BBC, Channel 4, Al Jazeera, Discovery, a wide variety of things, which was great, from heavy compliance, duty of care, to, fun children's programs. So, yeah, it was just finding that niche and that timing. But for a long time, I was doing both jobs. I don't know how I did it, really. But
The
I
hours,
did.
not enough hours in the day to do it all, is there really?
Absolutely
No.
not. No,
Yeah.
no.
And you mentioned that you're quite into finding the right story and researching into that. How do you approach stories to begin with? Do you read articles or things like that, and then you make contact with the relevant people for that to then create the show, or how does it work when you're finding stories?
When we're finding stories where you're looking at trends, what's taking off, what's happening at the moment, you're almost reading the landscape, and then finding a new way of retelling that story, finding a spin on it. And it's been authentic, it's been original. Um, you could just get a feel for what was going on at the time. When I was working in editorial, it was right, what is chiming? What's on the agenda at the moment? It's a bit like a fashion. And it was just hooking into it. But it's having a gut reaction. It's having that feeling of, this is a good story, but I need to give it a spin. Something else needs to be added to the mix. Maybe a new contributor, maybe a new element to the story. Can we explore this a little bit further? So, like for instance, we're going through a wave of crime programs. That's really taking off, So, and I remember there was a time where lots of scandal programs were taking up because there's so many scandals going on, and in the hierarchy and the establishment, and the channels couldn't get enough scandal stories. So, yes, it's whatever is, just on the surface that you can maybe identify. There's one particular project I worked on which is very close to my heart, and that really was something. It was shot over 7 years, and it was called My Gay Life, and this was very much a topic, something very much on the agenda. Lots was happening in this world, and we decided just to go to Gay Pride in Brighton. And thought, well, we might find stories, interesting people to talk to, do some research, find out what's going on in the community. And we found this guy, and his mum were there, and he was 7 years old when we first met him, and he knew that he was gay. And we started filming with him when he was 11, and Channel 4 stayed with us right till he was 18. And we
Wow.
filmed the family all the way through. And it was just incredible. It was like the evolution of this boy through his teenage years, and just to see him flourish. But the backdrop of that was the family, huge, huge family upheavals. And we worked with it. And that was incredible. When that went out, and that was nominated for a BAFTA, which I'm really proud of, really proud of. And he's a successful young guy now, and he was absolutely amazing and so mature, brilliant speaker, just phenomenal. So when you get stories like that just fall, into your hand, you just go, wow, this is just amazing. And what if you have a channel that believes in you, like Channel 4 stayed with us? It was incredible. So when you get stories like that, it's really quite, that really hooked into the time, what was going on. And actually the way we shot it changed with the evolution of what was happening in society as well. So we were able to pick up stories along the way and deal with it. It was like one long, item really that was just influenced by what was going on in the world at the time. So we went through the Trump years. I mean, it was just, it was phenomenal. Great. Yeah.
So
It sounds like, sorry, I was just going to say, it sounds like right place, right time sort of thing for you with that
It
story.
is. It is. It's whatever is going on, whatever is happening, whatever is evolving. It's just picking up on those nuances and running with it. And also that sometimes the channels will say, this is what we're looking for. But often you go to those meetings with the channels, those open days that they ask you, or those pitching days. They actually don't really know what they want themselves. And then when you come up with an idea, they go, oh, yeah, that's really good. Yeah. Yeah, we've heard about that. That's really interesting. Yeah, so sometimes feeding them the information as well.
And going back to that series that you were mentioning that you did with the boy, so how did it work? Did you recorded to him from 11 years old all the way up to 18, but did you release any footage in that time, or were you just just sort of banking that footage and then releasing it later on? How did that work?
We were banking the footage.
Right. Okay. Wow.
Whenever
And
was
how is it working on a project that is over many years, but not actually putting it out there? Like, what's that experience like? And how do you kind of deal with working? Because I'm assuming you did other projects
yes.
over that 7-year period. How did you kind of keep on top of what you had, how you were like kind of creating the story? Like, can you talk us through that a little bit?
Well, obviously I was with the production company that we were running, Glasshead, and it allowed us to springboard and do this project. If we had nothing else, we wouldn't have survived. But because we had lots of other productions coming in from the BBC, Channel 4, Al Jazeera, BBC World, we were able to do it. If this was just a one-off project, probably not, because the channel literally drip fed in, we'd have to show them some footage and we'd have to check in with them. We'd have to say, this is what's happening. And we actually went through 2 commissioning editors, and I thought, oh goodness, when a commissioning editor leaves, it's a clean slate. They want new people, they want new productions, they want to make a mark, they want to really, channel their own ideas, while the commissioning editor stayed with us, which was absolutely amazing. But they literally drip fed money. That's how it worked, and we just banked all the footage, and nothing was shown. Because obviously there was the mother and father of this boy that had to be involved with this as well. His mother was very supportive, father wasn't at times, so that was another big hurdle that we had to work with, but we got round in the end. And yeah.
Wow, that sounds like an extraordinary project, but so worth the time. Yeah. And sort of in the freelance world of it, I guess you said you left the BBC and then you started your own company. Did you feel that was that you had sort of the people behind you to be able to work with automatically by doing that? Like, did it take time to get clients to come to you, or did it happen quite quickly?
Well, I mean, how it worked was, before we set up this company, 2 years prior to that, it was at the time of Producer's Choice. The BBC was wanting more productions to go out. It was the real start of the indies, and so we had left. This group of producers I was working with, we'd left with the BBC to go and work wall to wall on a science series. And Wall to Wall was just starting up at that time as well. And it was really at the early stages of, channels getting, like BBC working with indies. And so we'd already made that connection with the outside world anyway, the indie world. But literally, when we set up the company, it was from scratch. It was just going along to those open days, anything, that we could go along to, all our contacts who we used. There was some ex-BBC people that we knew that had gone to Channel 4 and now commissioners. So it was using lots of contacts, firing out loads of ideas, pitches, watching what was going on in the news, in society, following through, just really making a name, making some noise, just getting out there and establishing, the production company, really. And I suppose what you do is you start with what the company and what your strengths are. So if you've got a background in documentaries or science or history, you'll work on those because you have the expertise, because often they like expertise. They like people with a kind of historical or history or investigative background, and you just sell that, really. It's your calling card, it's your brand. And then that allows you bounce into other areas like arts that you wouldn't think of, or drama, for instance. We made quite a lot of drama too. So we were doing documentaries, investigations, and drama. It was a really kind of, and lots of animation too. We were doing a real hybrid.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a real mix, isn't it?
That was a huge mix. Yeah.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
guess it gives you that variety and it keeps you always on your toes, I suppose.
Well, it does. It does. And also we were using our knowledge, our kind of background, as I say, commissioners just liked it if like the animations were, obviously for children. We'd worked in children's programming. We did a series about famous people for the BBC, which was looking at Darwin and, lots of people from the Victorian area. So we were able to recreate that because got a history background. So it was just really playing on your background and, those strengths. Because you come across with a passion, you can speak with a passion for it. If they throw you into something like, if you've got sport or something and you know nothing about it, you're going to sit there and you will have kind of crammed all this information, but you're not going to come across and talk from the heart about it. You've got to have that passion, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you say you have a history background. Did you study history in university then?
No, I didn't. No, it's just something I've always enjoyed.
Always enjoyed.
I've
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
loved it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's
What's your
something
favorite part of history?
well, I would say, I'd say probably I suppose the Reformation and the Renaissance, and yeah, I think that earlier, and Regency as well is great because you've got all that great kind of flavour and scandal, and yeah, there's kind of Bridgerton years. So much going on. There really is intrigue. Yeah, and Irish history as well, of course. I'm quite glued up on that too. So
Yeah.
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 And did
Oh,
you know that you always wanted to sort of have a job that is quite investigative and into documentaries and stuff like that? Did you study anything related to filming in general?
Well, no. Well, I did at the BBC. I did various courses like writing for television, directing for television, and I I always liked a really good story. I always
Hmm.
loved a really good story, and I like finding out about, what's, I don't know. I just felt that I connected with it.
Mm.
I don't know. I just felt I connected with it, and I'm pretty meticulous with detail. I can follow a story through, and I can read it. Yeah, it's just having affinity with the subject. I think
Yeah.
a connection, and maybe that's where the history comes in because that's finding out nuts and bolts how people operated or what was going on at the time. So maybe I'm pulling that in with the investigative work that I like, yeah, doing now.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how that helped me with Narcos and the mafia, but
Oh God. Right,
yeah, I did that for wall to wall quite recently, actually. Yes, yeah. So yeah.
It sounds like your career has been pretty consistent in terms of work. Am I correct in thinking that? Or have there been periods of like, what am I doing? Where's the next job coming?
Yeah, I've been pretty lucky with work coming down the line. I've never really kind of had. I mean, I think now is probably the worst time. This is the biggest drought. I think there was in 2007, there was another big kind of low in the TV industry. But I think this is particularly bad. What's going on now? I know people that haven't worked in a very, very long time and are now doing other things. And so far, I've been able to, um, survive, but maybe because I've got the production and I've got the editorial side. And what I've tried to do always is, evolve with the highs and lows of the TV and just really skill up. So when I finished the Palin series in Nigeria, I thought, what am I going to do now? And it was a bit like a BBC moment of when somebody was handing out just this, you know, magazine, and I think it used to be called 9 to 5, the tube station. I saw this advert for high-end television, return to, and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. I'll send that off and thinking, well, I haven't worked in drama for a while, but you never know. But I have done quite a lot of stuff. And yeah, they let me kind of join, and I joined this cohort of 10 amazing people, all at different stages in their life. And this is what is incredible about these courses that you go on, these sessions or retraining. You meet the most incredible people, and you build off their life experiences, and we're all helping each other as well, which is amazing. It's a support group you get as well. So if you're not working, I would definitely say, skill up, keep connected, do other work if you need to, but stay connected just with your cohort of people that you have that connection with, so yeah. And so that's what I've been doing, and I'm hoping to get funded placements as well, and that's organised through Screen Skills. Screen Skills have been amazing, really. They've been really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you get in? How would someone get into Screen Skills? What do you need to do a course with them?
Well, they're all free, and you go online. You go online with Screen Skills, and they release new courses every month. Things coming up, just things to skill up on. Some are just one session, and they deal with budgeting to kind of mental health and support in the industry. There's just and sustainability. It's just such an incredible organization.
You need some sort of experience behind you to be able to participate in those courses, or not at all?
Some of them not. Obviously, I had to say yes. I have worked in drama, and I had to show what I had done, most definitely. And I sent a CV in, and I was interviewed twice, and I had to go through a whole protocol. But I was so lucky to get on that, because I really didn't know. But again, it was one of those moments. So now I'm hoping to work in scripted for now, and hopefully bring my documentary unscripted experience with me, and my editorial and production nous with me. And I think that's the reason I've managed to survive, is because I've got these two hats that I wear. And often, even if I'm working in production, I can read things quite quickly, and I can help producer, director, because I can step in, because I've been in their shoes. I know what it's like getting a story on air, or what you need to do. So I can read through the lines as well. So yeah, that helps too.
I think there's like a general consensus in sort of the film TV industry, because I do location management, and then I also produce. So I understand what you're saying. There's some people that think, well, if you're just a film person, that's all you'll know, and you can't go into TV, or you can't go into commercial, you can't go into documentary, or and when I've met people and I've said, oh well, I've done TV, film, commercial, they're like, whoa, hang on, but don't you just do features? I'm like, no, I actually do this. They're sort of shocked by it. I think the industry should change a little bit, and kind of be more open to the fact that it's really good to dip into all these different ways, because then you can bring all those skills to any of those jobs within the world of film and TV. And I think that's really good that you have that as well. I connect with you, resonate with you on that.
Absolutely. And it does need to be more open and inviting to people, because, and also we all rely on the network as well, who we worked with last, and keeping the same team. It almost becomes obsessive. Oh, I've got this new series and I've got to work with this same new team. And I mean, that's not going to help, get more people involved, and, fresher, and probably have a more, a different outlook that could inspire the whole team and just turn things around. It's just mixing it up a little bit. And I think that's the way the industry is only going to survive, to be honest. More funding, more money, more support, and more diversity of people working in production, rather than just the same cohort that just goes from one production to the next. I think channels and execs need to be a little bit braver, to be honest. And yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. That's really interesting for you to kind of share that, because it's like, how else would anyone get into the industry if those opportunities aren't there,
No, absolutely not. And it's just, there's no other way, especially at the moment. People want to go and work in TV. I thought, well, really make sure, because future, you want to live on contracts for the rest of the and it's quite ageist as well. I know a lot of people now that are not working, doing other things. It can be, definitely. Yeah, I know, as we know, it can be tough on your mental health too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. It's intense, isn't it? It's a very intense world to be in. You know.
It is, most definitely. You're literally as good as your last job. And even now I find, friends and family go, "Why you do contract from contract, and how do you, what do you do?" And yeah, I don't know. I've managed somehow. I've managed to stay in the industry. I've never jumped out and done anything different. Although recently I've thought, oh God, I should be doing something else. But then this Screen Skills high-end TV thing just appeared on the horizon, and I'm going to follow that through and see what happens. It's all you can do, really.
Yeah.
But it's staying positive, really
Yeah.
is. Yeah, and just staying relative and connected, and anyone joining the industry, well, it's a tough one, really. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
How do
hope
you
that it gets better soon and it picks
I
up.
hope so too. They're saying next year it should get a lot better in documentary, but I think the whole landscape of documentaries is going to change because we are watching that material in different ways. We're not sitting down in front of our TV set, at 8 o'clock to watch a program weekly. It doesn't work like that anymore. And also, a lot of documentaries can be homegrown, especially investigations, which has really had a tough, go with Dispatches and Panorama. A lot of those are homegrown, so there's no back end sales. Well, if you
So
put it drama,
for our listeners, what do you mean by homegrown? What does that mean?
the stories, for instance, the Post Office that ITV did recently, which was absolutely amazing. That might not sell anywhere else.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were actually in that's how me and Francesca met. We were in a play about the Post Office scandal.
Brilliant.
Last year.
Yeah.
And then that came out, and we were like, what? We were literally just in a play about this.
Yeah.
What play was it?
It was called The Post Office Scandal, and it was playing at the Oso Theatre in Barnes, and then it transferred to upstairs at the Gatehouse in Highgate. So we had a mini tour with it.
Brilliant.
It was last summer, actually this time, funnily enough. So we had like a good 2-3 week run with it, and it was a multi-role, so that we had some people, some of the postmasters in there, characters, and then we had the villains like Paula Vanel's and all of them. So it was a bit of a satire play as well, added to that. But we had the actual postmasters come by and meet us and see the play, and we managed to speak to Seema Misra, for example, who's been on the news recently, and they were just sharing their experiences, and we were just like, oh my gosh, like the power of the arts.
Mess.
Yeah,
I cried so much.
You did.
I'm just such an emotional person. What can I say? It's just such a sad
story. It's unbelievable. It's one of the biggest scandals ever.
Yeah,
we had a couple who told us they had a post office, and these auditors who came to their house knocked on their door and demanded to come in to see where the money was stashed, and they said to us that they actually went through this lady's cupboards, opened her cupboard and took all her clothes down and just to try and see, and then they even went into the freezer in her shop to see if she had stashed money in the freezer. And so she was saying all of these things that are even more things to add to the story, really, that is not even heard of right now. And we were just so blown away by it, but we were also so happy with the fact that the arts can give so much life to stories like this, and it's such a frustrating thing that over 25 years there's no justice that has been made, and they kept it under wraps. So to be a part of that, and the fact that me and Kat met that way as well, and we've only been friends for a year and started this podcast in December, it's been really kind of bittersweet.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes, off the back of something so powerful and emotional as that must have been just an incredible production to be part of, and that you met. Yeah. So yes, and I'm talking about it now. So Lucy can
What a be odd.
Yeah. So That's incredible. Wow. Well,
Yeah.
thank God. I'm just hoping that they get some kind
Yeah.
of resolution
I'm
and all that, and they get money. But I don't think that ever makes up for the strife and
No.
the
No.
catastrophic impact that would have on someone's life. Unbelievable. To be accused of that is just dreadful.
I know.
Awful. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So so and then drama, it's you get all those back end sales. It means you can get a distributor on board and you can sell globally.
yeah.
So if you do a lovely drama here, when you can get a company on board that will just help you sell it across the world, you get all that money. You get distribution fees. So yeah, and that's how documentaries sometimes suffer, because the channels think, well, what can we make money out of it? What can we do? Even production companies, and now I think documentary singles are really tough as well, because the budgets are so low and there's no residual sales afterwards. So it's yeah, and we're as I say, we're watching that material in different ways on different mediums. So yeah, I think the landscape is going to change, definitely with documentaries. So yeah.
What's the best part of the job for you then, Hazel?
I think it's actually seeing it go out, the project go out. I mean, last year, I worked with the lovely Sir Michael Palin, and the experience was quite, it was a bit of a roller coaster, because for lots of reasons, it was quite a volatile place. We're sending this national treasure across 1,000 miles of Nigeria, going into Boko Haram, and really quite a tough shoot for somebody of any age. And then the lovely Michael lost his wife as well this time last year, May, June, and everything went on hold. We didn't know what was going to happen. It was an absolute nightmare getting visas, getting a film permit to go to some of the places. Security kept saying, you can't go, this happened, there's been another kidnapping. It was just relentless. So finally, to see the project go out this year has just been amazing for all of us, because it really was a tough year. Both, I think, personally for people involved with the production, and also just the physicality of working there and managing to achieve what they did. And they went out with a schedule and they did it. And they went through the most amazing territory, spoke to the most incredible people, and caught, a real flip side of Nigeria that you just wouldn't see. You'd go and you'd stay in Lagos and you wouldn't really go anywhere else. It was quite a big, secure venture, especially for filming, for film companies. And they had 24/7 security out there. So yeah, it was.
Wow.
So just seeing that go out this year was lovely, to be able to see it when you've worked on something that's been really tough.
Yeah, and to be able to see your work on the screen, and the fact that you brought that story to life can be so empowering.
Absolutely, yes. And it was a small team. This is the thing. It was we weren't a big production at all. Yes. Yeah.
And sort of for freelancers starting out, or they're in the midst of it, what advice would you give to them thinking to go into the freelancing world?
I think if you have a mentor that can help you, guide you, build up some contacts, skill up, start networking, go on to Screen Skills, Production Guild, Talent Manager, Talent Base is good as well. The Talent Manager have been amazing, actually, all the way through this drought, and they organize lots of networking events, CV workshops, help connect. They've got a kind of like a speed date thing that they do where you get to meet other people in the industry. Find out where you want to work, what genre do you want to go into. Yeah, that's all about, and even getting work experience. Yeah, skilling up is great because there you get connected with, tutors that have worked with the industry, and they can be really helpful and supportive. Actually step back and think, is this for you? Are you see yourself in 5 years' time if you can, and think, will I still want to be going from contract to contract? Is this really for me? Choose carefully the genre you go into. Yeah, if you want to go into drama, scripted, you know, try and get on a gig. There are lots of Facebook listings as well of availability. Yeah, local theatre, local TV, colleges. Anything that you can just see where you might find more information about how you want to connect up, and then really think, is this really what I want to do? You might find you start it just takes you somewhere else. And I think this is not for me. I don't like the idea of not having, a steady income coming in, and, will I be able to achieve everything I want to? It might suit your lifestyle. It might be absolutely fine. And it might be quite good to do for a while and then use it as a stepping stone to do something else.
Yeah.
But also stay connected with the industry, find out what's going on. Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be so valuable for our listeners.
Yeah.
All of that knowledge that you've just given us is going to be so valuable to so many people. So thank you so much for sharing that, Hazel.
That's all right. It's okay.
Right. Before we finish up, we always play a game with our guests. It's a game of Would You Rather. So first question, would you rather live on a peaceful tropical island or a big bustling city?
I think a big bustling city.
Would you rather have to start a new job every year until you retire, but or have one job for your entire career?
I've only known having to start a new job every year, so I wouldn't know any difference.
Would you rather spend your money traveling the world but have few personal possessions, or have a really amazing house but never leave your hometown?
Oh, I think traveling the world with a few possessions rather than being in the hometown.
Sounds good. Would you rather have to wear all black every day for the rest of your life, or have to mix every colour of the rainbow into your outfit every day?
Oh, I think mix every colour of the rainbow, I think.
Love that.
Would you rather be able to talk with animals or speak every language?
Oh, I'd love to be able to talk to animals, I think. I think that'd be really interesting because then I'd get their adventures.
There we go. You
So
can have
different. So
Yeah.
different. Yeah. Incredible. Could you imagine?
Yeah, how cool. Dr. Dolittle. Would you rather always be 1 hour late or 1 hour early to everything?
Oh, I think 1 hour early. I have to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you rather be covered neck to toe in tattoos or have one big face tattoo?
I think one big face tattoo.
Ooh.
Really? I think you're the first person that said that
You are.
so far. Love that.
Well, you can cover it whatever you want, can't you?
No, this is it.
You can go in disguise.
You could. Would you rather have to speak rhyme for the rest of your life or have to speak in riddles for the rest of your life?
No, I'd like to speak in riddles, I think. Much more interesting.
Everyone will be
Would you rather have more time or more money?
And more money, I think.
Fair enough.
Would you rather be a freelancer or PAYE?
That's a tough one because it depends on, if it was really buoyant and there's loads of work going on, I would probably say freelancer. That's a really tough one. It depends on the circumstances, really. If I take it that at the moment, I think I probably would really like to be PAYE just to get over this kind of hurdle. But when things are good and there's interesting projects out there, I'd definitely freelance because it would allow me, just to keep evolving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Cool.
So that has come to the end of the interview, but where can our listeners kind of follow your onward journey? Are you on any social media or LinkedIn or anything?
LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. That's the best place. Yeah.
Amazing. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that. That was so insightful. I'm sure lots of people are gonna I'm sure there's going to be a lot of listeners that benefit from it out there, though.
Oh,
truly.
I really hope so. I hope so. Yeah.
Definitely.
No, it's been a pleasure meeting both of you.
Thanks for listening to
Not the 9 to 5 podcast.
If you liked this episode, we would love for you to subscribe to our channel, where we release weekly podcasts every Monday.
Comment below to let us know who you'd like to see next on our podcast.
Give this video a thumbs up and maybe share it with a freelance friend or two.
Until next week, everyone.
Keep freelancing.